Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video on my sports Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over some UFC fights for Saturday, August 28th. I'm going to show you highlights of each side, and it's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And if for some reason you're curious to know how I'm picking in these fights, you have to join my Patreon. My picks are always in writing, underlined, and italicized. For more information on that, please read the description of this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in your picks today. Let's go ahead and get into the fights. Going to be looking at UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Chikadze. Assuming I pronounced that last name correctly. I doubt it. We're going to be looking at the main event, and we're also going to be looking at the co-main event. And those are the only two fights that we're going to be looking at for this event for Saturday. On this side of the screen is what I call my daily numbers, date numerology, Gregorian Hebrew calendar. And then on this side of the screen is what I call my game numbers. These are the numbers specific to the fight. So the way that it's structured, I have the name of the event up here, location, weight class. I have one fighter right here, his name Gematria, his birthday to and from, his fight record, his UFC record. In the middle is the head-to-head Gematria. And then at the bottom is another fighter, his fight record, his birthday to and from. So let's start off with the co-main event, Brian Battle versus Gilbert Urbina. Urbina. I don't know, I probably mispronounced that as well. Brian Battle versus Gilbert Urbina. I didn't see a whole lot of numbers for this fight. I'm kind of just picking at, or grasping at straws here for this one. Both of their records are very similar. Brian Battle comes in 6-1. He could become 6-2 or 7-1. Gilbert comes in 6-2. He could become 6-3 or 7-2. So there's not a whole lot of difference between their fight record. Both of them are in single digits. Brian Battle, though, he's on a 5-fight win streak. Could get his 6th in a row. Gilbert's on a 1-fight lose. He can get his 2nd in a row. It's both these guys' first UFC official fight. So one of these guys is going to have a good debut. One of them is not. One thing that I have in favor for Gilbert Urbina is that if he wins, if Gilbert Urbina wins, he could become 7-2 for a fight record, like the number 72. And 72 sums to 168. Today is the 168th day on the Hebrew religious calendar. It could become 7-2. The thing, though, with that is it's also the 20th day of the current Hebrew month. And Brian Battle, if he wins, he would become 7-1, like 71. And 71 is the 20th prime number. Another thing I noticed was for Gilbert, it's 145 or a total span of 146 days since his last birthday, his 25th birthday. The 145 is interesting to me only because this is his 9th fight, and he could potentially get his 2nd loss in a row. 9th fight, 2nd loss in a row. Kind of reminds me of the number 92. If we put in the words 92, it does sum to 145. And so 145 days since his last birthday, he could become, in his 9th fight, he can get his 2nd loss, like 92. If that were to happen, Brian Battle would get his 6th win in a row, as Gilbert gets his 2nd loss in a row, like 6-2, 62. Gilbert comes in 6-2. Brian Battle could become 6-2, but he's also 26 years old. So at the age of 26 to 6, he can get his 6th win in a row. Gilbert get his 2nd loss in a row, 2-6-6-2. Another thing with that too is this fight is taking place in Las Vegas. Las Vegas sums to 86. 8th fight, get his 6th win in a row, like 86. 9th fight, can get his 2nd loss in a row, like 92, which sums to 145. That's what I'm kind of thinking. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. It's really not a lot to work with, obviously, but hmm. If we pop in the number 6, we see that the number 6 sums to 20 as well. So in theory, I guess Brian Battle can get his 6th win in a row. 6 sums to 20 as he becomes 7-1 for a fight record overall. 71 the 20th prime, it being the 20th day of the current Hebrew month. But we cannot ignore that it is the 168th day, and Gilbert can upset and become 7-2, like 72. 72 sums to 168. And 62 is just a reflection of 26, and so maybe him being 26 years old, he becomes 6-2. That's a potential. But that's all I have for right now for this fight. Outside of that, I don't really have a whole lot marked. I mean, either one of them is going to get their 7th win, so any connection you make with the number 7 goes either way. I think maybe he sits on 1 loss in his first UFC fight. Maybe the 1 is significant enough for Brian Battle to sit on 1 loss. That's about all I have. Not a whole lot. Not enough to like run to the bank or anything, but it's just some side notes for what I have right now. Hopefully this helps you guys on what you're doing, and at the very least it helps you add on to what you already have. Let's go to the main event. Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze. This fight almost seems too easy as far as numbers go, which makes me a little cautious. Number we already talked about is 168. It being 168th day of the Hebrew religious. Gilbert Urbina could become 7-2. 72 sums to 168. But for the main event, Giga, it's his 16th fight, and he could end his 8-fight winning streak. So in his 16th fight, he could end his 8-fight winning streak. 168. 168. And what I mean by this particular fight seems almost too easy, which makes me cautious, is that today has 23 and 41 date numerology on the Gregorian. And Edson Barboza can get his 23rd win for his career as he becomes 17-9 for a UFC record. 179 is the 41st prime number. 41 is the 13th prime number. And Giga would sit on 13 wins for his career as Edson becomes 17-9, the 41st prime, getting his 23rd win overall on a day with 23 and 41 date numerology for the Gregorian. See, it almost just seems too easy. Giga would become 6-1 for a UFC record with the loss. 61 sums to 41 as well. So he can sit on 13. Could become 6-1. 61 sums to 41. 41 the 13th prime. 41 date numerology on the Gregorian. Edson could become 17-9, the 41st prime, as he gets his 23rd win on a day with 23 date numerology. 23 mathematically is the 9th prime number. He can sit on 9 losses for his career, as he sits on 9 UFC losses to go with. But if we're going to bring up the number 9, and 23 being the 9th prime number, I have to say that Giga could get his 9th win in a row. So we could actually mark that 23rd, 23 date numerology, 23 the 9th prime. He could get his 9th win in a row. But if Edson does win this fight, he gets his 3rd win in a row, as Giga ends his 8-5 winning streak. Las Vegas sums to 23. Las Vegas, Nevada sums to 83. 8-3 gets his 3rd win in a row, ends his 8-fight win streak. 8-3, 3-8. Both of those numbers connect to 23, because 23 sums to 163, which is the 38th prime number. 3883, and then 83 which is just the opposite of 38. Is the 23rd prime number. So 83 and 38 both have a connection to the number 23. Today with 23 date numerology, Edson could get his 23rd win, gets his third win in a row, ends his 8-fight win streak, 3883, so on and so forth. It's 3 days, or a total span of 4 days, since Giga's 33rd birthday. 3 days from his 33rd birthday, he can get his third loss in a row. So that's what I mean by it just seems almost too easy for Edson. I mean, all the numbers just point to Edson, in my opinion. Makes me a little bit leery. Makes me question it, just because I know that Giga could get his 14th win. And another number that connects to 41 is 14. 14 sums to 41. 14 also sums to 40. And Barboza versus Chikadze sums to 173, the 40th prime number. Giga can get his 14th win. 14 sums to 41 and 40. 41 date numerology on the Gregorian. 173, the 40th prime. I mean, Las Vegas, Nevada sums to 133. Giga could become 13 and 3. But I've seen the same pattern. I've seen so many fighters come into Las Vegas with the potential to become 13 and 3 in Las Vegas 13 and 3, and it does not hit. At the same time, I've seen so many fighters come into Las Vegas with a 12 and 0 record to potentially become 13 and 0, and it does hit. Something about the 130 that hits, something about the 13-3 that usually doesn't hit. But not always. I've seen the 133 hit, but just not always. I'm cautious about it. I've seen some of the most connected 133s go to the wayside and not even come close to hitting. I've seen maybe one or two of them hit. This might be one of them that could be in play, potentially the 13-3, Las Vegas, Nevada 13-3. I think I've seen every single fight that a fighter if any fighter becomes 13-3, whether it's UFC or boxing, I think I've seen every single one of them become 13-0 in Las Vegas. I don't think I've seen a single one lose it. But the 133s, I have seen people lose and not become 133. So I'm a little leery on that one. So you do have that 14 here. If you were to become 7-0, a perfect 7-0, like 70, 29 the 10th prime. This is what would be tricky for him. So if he becomes 70, if Giga pulls the upset and becomes 7-0, like 70 sums to 29, the 10th prime number. Edson Barboza would get his 10th loss for his career, as well as his 10th UFC loss. Edson Barboza sums to 122, which is just a reflection of 221, and he could become 221 or 22 or 22 and 10, right? And that's actually the connections for the number 70. So if Giga becomes 7-0, like 70, we write out 70, sums to 29 and 79, the 22nd prime number and the 10th prime number, 22 and 10. 22 and 10, reflection of 122, Edson Barboza 122. So there are some numbers here for Edson Barboza to lose. On the surface, it just seems real easy with the 23, the 179, the 13 and 3, the 61. It seems super easy for Edson Barboza. But if you start to look at it a little bit, you can start to dig for Giga, 2210, the 14, the 70, and then you have that 10-10, the 221, the 122. There are some numbers here against Edson Barboza, so keep that in mind. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you got enough information out of this to make your picks or to add on top of what you already have. I really appreciate the support, appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you win every single pick that you make.